Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Marvel, where authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and each day we will cover the topics that are informative and engaging while learning from each other. It is Friday. Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, March 27th, 2026. It is 59 degrees and raining outside, and it is another day in paradise. I've actually made it through the week. I did not know that I was going to be working all week. The deal that I made with the folks that care about me was that I would come on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but because I'd been off the air for almost 2 months, and that there were people waiting for me, and it was time sensitive, I had to, well, we'll work it out. I really do love doing this, but it has exhausted me because coming on the air doesn't mean just coming on the air and talking. There's a lot of research that has to happen. So if you can see from my posts on social media, I'm really starting to dig in, and what I am finding is not making my heart happy. So I'm just like, okay, girl, you cannot do this. You're going to be all right. Our country is in such dire straits that even my unflappable husband, who always says that everything is negotiable in life, including life itself, has looked at me and said, babe, this is really, really bad. And I don't know how much of a country we have anymore based on the things that we see going on. So he's been following the news, where I have dropped off happily because it was just too much. But if I'm going to be on the air, there's a modicum of it that I have to carry. This morning at 7 a.m., which would be, 4 o'clock her time in California, I have an Iranian citizen coming on, who is also an immigration lawyer, and she's going to talk to us about, the situation that's happening in Iran right now, the war. What does it mean as an Iranian citizen? Because we keep acting and behaving as if this is a war that everybody should just die, or we just don't know. We don't know what's going on in people's lives and how they're reacting. So my goal this morning is to have a pleasant conversation with her about how do we navigate, how do Iranian citizens navigate these waters that are not living in Iran, and what's happening to those that are currently living in Iran, and what does that mean to them. This was another time sensitive thing. It's people have been sending me all kinds of amazing things. So I cover the news without covering the news. I'm trying really hard not to get too immersed in all of it. I spoke to Joanne Bell yesterday and then saw an article that I'm about to discuss after I do my morning motivation. And so there is a lot happening here. And even with her, she consistently says, Andrea, I need you to come on now. Are you resting? Did you sit your tail down? I'm trying not to go back into the space of the heightened cortisol levels as a direct result of everything that's happening in the country. But I do want to make you aware that I need you all to be more thoughtful about the way you move and behave. It's getting desperate for a lot of people. I went to buy vegetables, just vegetables yesterday, vegetables and some fruit. And the vegetables and fruit came to almost $70. And the young cashier that was ringing me up looked at me and he said, ma'am, he said, miss, how are we? He said, you don't even have a chicken bone here. There's not a piece of meat in this grocery that you just bought. And what is happening? And he looked so distraught. And he said, but this is what we get. Young black man. He said, this is what we get. We've got this thing happening here. We are being left in the background. And I don't think people realize. He said, I can't even afford to get the bus fare to come to work because the food costs so much. Paying for rent costs so much. And I just stood there. And I took a deep breath and I listened to him. And I said, what is going to have to happen is that we're all going to have to figure out how to help each other. What do I have in my freezer that can help you? What do you have in your house that can help me, kind of thing. I said, but it's going to take us coming outside of ourselves and to not be so selfish and self-centered. And right now, baby, based on the things that we've been absorbing on social media, the things we've been absorbing on television, all we're thinking about is what? Me, 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 me. I want this, I want that. I know this stuff is going on around me, but I'm just me, me, me. That's where we are. That's where we are right now. So it's going to take some work, and trying to find your tribe is not going to be easy. Tomorrow morning, I have a funeral and Mr. Man jam session all within an hour and a half of each other. So, and I'm not going home to change. So y'all figure out what mother's going to have to wear. Okay, I may have to show up at the funeral looking fly, so I don't have to go to the other thing. But it's life and death every day, and it's Jacques Wambosh, a friend of mine who passed away suddenly last weekend. I'll tell you more about him. He and I were working on a project with Antoine Johnson, uh, a legacy literacy project. So, we'll see what comes out of that over time. But folks are just dropping out of here. We have to pay attention to what's happening. All right, let me do my morning motivation, and then we'll go from there. So let's get clear about something. My entire life has been about speaking up and out on behalf of the downtrodden, underserved, and maligned. That crosses race, gender, culture, etc. Some folks only speak up as it applies to what affects them. I have no issues tackling it all. I also need you to be most clear about when I speak up. My homework has already been done on the back end. Meetings were held, irrefutable data straight from credible sources were placed in my hands, and I go further to get fully involved on the ground. This isn't for everyone, as it does not a popularity contest make. But guess what? We can't all hide in the shadows, whispering and afraid to rock boats. Change never happens that way. Let me come on over here and see what you all are saying. It's probably a bunch of good mornings. Monica says, yes, I am concerned. I did not expect to see you on air every day this week. Please slow down, my sister. I'm working it through. I'm working it through. Wherever I don't have a guest, and I'm not sure if that's going to happen over the next few weeks, I will take off that morning just so I can decompress and breathe. It's copy, paste, and repeat day. So they get a few hours, and then I'm going to come home and go to sleep. Good morning, Angela Jones. Good morning, Shaquilla. Good morning, my darlings. Jasenia, child, it's really bad. When I see my husband say that, he just looked at me, he says, babe, good morning, Viola. Viola is out here taking people all over the place. Beatrice Barlow, good morning, sweetie pie. Jasenia, good morning. I see you all. Good morning. I have to get ready for my guest, and I am praying that she will be on, because she and I had several conversations before this, and then I got sick and kind of went off the radar, and I was quite surprised when she sent me a text saying, I didn't hear from you, and my producer had emailed her and she didn't see it. So she is determined to be on here to have the conversation with me. I'm always very protective of people, because there's some folks who believe that if you're Iranian, you got to be bad. If you are black, you can't be anything good, just that kind of stuff. So I want to create a safe space for her to come on and have a conversation with me. And I'm expecting all of you to treat her well, because this is an important conversation. Let me go on over here. Yeah, the babies. You see the babies? So my sister says, paste. My grandchildren are called copy, paste, and repeat. Paste looks like me. The older she gets, the more she looks like me. The same smile. And ooh, she's got that side eye that is out of control. But let me go on to the news. We'll talk about that later. There was something that I wanted to cover that I'm not sure. For those of you who live in the United States of America and are Black, the UN General Assembly on Wednesday adopted a resolution declaring the trafficking of enslaved Africans the gravest crime against humanity, and calling for reparations as a concrete step toward remedying historical wrongs. The resolution also urges the prompt and unhindered restitution of cultural items, including artworks, monuments, museum pieces, documents, and national archives to their countries of origin without charge. The vote in the 193 member world body was 123 to 3, with 52 abstentions. Argentina, Israel, and the United States were the three members who voted against the resolution. The United Kingdom and all 27 members of the European Union were among those that abstained. While the United States opposes the past wrongdoing of the transatlantic slave trade and all other forms of slavery, it does not recognize a legal right to reparations for historical wrongs that were not illegal under international law at the time they occurred, said Deputy U.S. Ambassador Dan Negria before the vote. What are your thoughts? Let Marvel know. I can't wait to hear this. Charmaine says we will be on our best behavior. Yes, yes, yes. So, what are your thoughts about that? Tell Marvel. It's interesting to see what's happening. We're giving reparations to everyone else. We are making sure other countries are okay. The other thing that Joanne and I talked about, Belle and I talked about last evening, was that even in the map around the world, Africa is so large. They're making the map smaller to make Africa not be as big as it's supposed to be. There's so many natural riches that are in that country, so much of natural mental support, and the six smartest people in the world now are all Black children. Nobody talks about that. The most agreed group of people in the world, in America right now, are African American women. So you see all the things that are going on to debase the work that we've done by, laying us off from our jobs, removing contracts, nothing to do with minority, et cetera, et cetera. And we have been so conditioned into believing this vile stuff around being Black, that you can't be anything good, you can't amount to anything great, blah 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 blah, that it is insane to watch. Now, while I was raising my sons, I felt this, right? And I kept saying to them, do what you need to do so you can do what you want to do. This country does not feel safe for any of us. And I'm speaking this as plainly as I know how to. And so my sons, went off K through 12, no suspensions, no detentions, not, never been locked up in the system. They've been tried. And I've had to hire lawyers to fight for them. But that's a privilege that a lot of people do not have. A lot of people have not been able to pull themselves up, quote unquote, by the bootstraps to do what needs to be done. And so I tell you all the time, whatever it is that you're blessed with, turn around and help other people around you. Don't just sit there and think, well, I've got mine, you get yours. I've taught my children to be kind human beings, to treat people well. And I'm watching them as adults, navigating through these streets, helping people, giving up their seats, making sure folks have what they needed. One day, my oldest son called me and says, oh my God, I'm turning into you. He said, I went to an event and I was putting coins in the meter for different people. He said, all I could hear in my head was, pay a little bit extra for people to go. The thing that carries you in this world is love. Love, fidelity, hard work, determination. Because no matter what you do, no matter how many degrees you have, no matter how much money you have, no matter how many cars you own, no matter how big your house or not, people oftentimes just see the color of your skin. It is frightening. And so you cannot ever walk around feeling like, fully okay with who you are and what you've done. Whew, it's a lot going on. It's a lot going on out here. Transgender women athletes are now excluded from the Olympics. Oh, I'm sorry. The first article that I read was by NBC Philadelphia. Transgender women athletes are now excluded from the Olympics after the IOC agreed to a new eligibility policy on Thursday, which aligns with U.S. President Donald Trump's executive order on women's sports ahead of the 2028 Los Angeles Games. eligibility for any female category event at the Olympic Games or any other IOC event, including individual and team sports, is now limited to biological females. Oh boy. The International Olympic Committee said, determined on the basis of a one-time SRI gene screening, it is unclear how many, if any, transgender women are competing at an Olympic level. No woman who transitioned from being born male competed in the 2024 Paris Summer Games. That was 6abc.com. But I believe the Senate came together. I'm about to read something about Homeland Security, but I believe the Senate came together overnight and passed a funding bill. So the Transportation Security Administration may have to shut down operations at some airports if the budget impasse drags on. They passed that last night. They passed the budget last night. Whew. Oh my goodness. That was NBC Philadelphia. New criminal referrals targeting New York Attorney General Letitia James are putting her back on the crosshairs of a Trump administration official after earlier federal efforts to prosecute her stalled. According to NBC News, Federal Housing Finance Asia Director Bill Pulte sent 2 criminal referrals on Wednesday, March 25th, alleging James may have committed insurance fraud tied to homeowners' insurance applications. Yo, I can't read this stuff. Tied to 2 properties in Norfolk, Virginia. One referral reported went to U.S. Attorney Jason Quinones in the Southern District of Florida, and the other to U.S. Attorney Andrew Boutros in the Northern District of Illinois, where the insurance companies involved are based. So in other words, they're doing everything they can, pulling out every stop they can to get to this woman. Black Information Network News put this out. The U.S. Postal Service is seeking a temporary 8% charge on certain popular products, including priority mail, to help blunt the impact of rising transportation costs. USPS filed notice on Wednesday with the Postal Regulatory Commission seeking the price increase, which would take effect on April 26th and remain in place until January 17, 2027, pending final approval. This temporary price adjustment will provide needed flexibility for the Postal Service by helping them to ensure that actual costs of doing business are covered. So this war in Iran, where the ships can't come through for fuel, for oil, it's not just impacting your gas tank, it's impacting your flights. You know, the planes have to fly. It's impacting your postal service, and it's impacting your food going across the transatlantic ocean to make sure that you get where, you know, stuff where it's coming from. It's impacting the truck drivers that are bringing the food across the country to get to you. Joanne again told me about the fertilizer. One of the things that they're concerned about is the ingredients for the fertilizers that the farmers use in planting season has to come through the channel of Hormuz. Can't come through. It's stopped, right? So so much is going on. I need us to really fully pay attention. We are seeing the price increases at the gas pump and in the supermarket. You know, things are so much more expensive. I am so grateful that we learned how to cook at an early age, that we can open up a can of this or a tin of that and make a pot of rice or make some cabbage or whatever. If you don't know how to cook, now is the time to learn how to do so. I don't know what else to tell you. And then with the data centers, our gas bills and electric bills have gone up exponentially. So can you imagine that if you've been struggling to pay your gas bill or electric bill before the sudden price hike, and I'm talking about gas bill going from $100 a month to $300 a month, insane. People are really struggling out here. That last article was written by NBCPhiladelphia.com. Ooh. For those of you who are looking to buy a house, the average long-term U.S. mortgage rate climbed this week to its highest level in more than 6 months, driving up borrowing costs during what typically is the busiest time of the year for prospective home buyers. The benchmark 30-year fixed rate mortgage rose to 6.38% from 6.22 last week, Mortgage Freddie. Mortgage buyer Freddie Mac said on Thursday. 1 year ago, the rate averaged 6.65. This marks the largest 1 week increase since April 2025 and the largest 3 week increase since October 2024. So for those of you who are getting ready to buy a house, know what you're walking into. abcnews.com. There we go. I can't. It's so much going on out here. Good morning, Laura. I see you. So Alexandra says if fertilizer is not laid in time in spring, the farmers can't plant. So what does that mean for us? Our food. We won't be able to get the necessary food. That means everything is going to be that much more expensive if we even have access to it at all. Jasenia says everything is increasing and out of control. I absolutely agree. Uh, Lord have mercy. It's a lot. Sharon says, not surprised by any of it. If and when I get to travel abroad again, my travel dollars will be spent where people look like me. Monica says, I saw this and it made my heart cheer. Finally, acknowledgement of these atrocities. That in itself is amazing to hear on a world spectrum. Never thought I would see that in my lifetime. Okay. Good morning, Dawn. Joanne Kemp says, reparations were given to. I see all of you here. Good morning. Joanne wrote, reparations were given to the Jews, to the Japanese, and Native Americans. Why are we so different from other people? It's a question that I have been asking my friends and family. What is it about Black folks that make us so vile to folks? What is it about, no matter how much we've achieved, accomplished, what is it about us that causes so much issue for so many people? Angela, woo, she said, that's all I got. Until we deal with the past, which is the truth, we cannot move forward. It's a lot, it's a lot that's going on out here. So while I wait for this sister to join me from Iran, from the East Coast, from the West Coast, let's talk a little bit about how you all have been managing. I see a lot of stuff because I've been talking about my health issues. I see a lot of the algorithm on social media has been about, going to the gym, blah, 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 blah. I mean, how are you navigating the stressors that you are feeling in your lives? Because it's not easy. KT says, now look for happy news, child, and nothing is happy on this diggity. Wait, let me look, because maybe I did get some. I saw human remains, Savannah Guthrie's mother, a vacant Philadelphia, maybe affordable, a vacant Philadelphia factory, maybe adopted for affordable senior apartments. Happy news. Wall Street falls to worst drop since the Iran war as NASDAQ sinks 10% below record. Let me just tell you, the stock market is, whoo, baby, it's terrible. Let me see. I don't see any good news, darlings. I do surge of off-leaf. I don't listen. This is crazy. Katie, I'm looking for the good news. And I got to the end and there was not an ounce of good news in all of that. So work with me. Alexandra says, everything you spoke of was broken down in detail on Roland Martin Unfiltered all week. The Black farmers were shut out of the federal relief this administration has given to white farmers. It's been a lot. It's KT says, ma'am, the melanin in our skin is some kind of special. I don't understand, but why the hate? I don't get it. Here she is. Let's get ready, y'all. Good morning.
Good morning.
It is so early where you are.
It's okay.
And I appreciate your being able to join us and willing to have a conversation. I've been looking forward to this. Please forgive the length of time that it took. I don't know if my producer told you I was sick, and so for 6 weeks
Yes,
I was out of commission. So I'm grateful to now have the conversation with you. Your friend Julie speaks so highly of you, and is the one
okay,
that connected us. So let me introduce you to everyone.
okay.
Um, Looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you.
Atisa Sachs is an Iranian born American mother, lawyer, and writer. She was born in Tehran, the capital of Iran, into an artistic family. She was 10 years old at the time of the 1979 Islamic Revolution, attended elementary school at Tehran's first ballet academy. In 2000, Atisha graduated law school and became a naturalized American citizen. Shortly after graduating law school, she relocated to the Los Angeles area and has been living here ever since. She's a California licensed attorney, predominantly working in immigration law. Her passion for the U.S. constitutional law and focus on immigration law stem from her very own life story and experiences. She has been an advocate for refugee rights and has a deep passion for civil rights and international human rights. Welcome to Mornings with Marva. It is, and
Thank
everybody's
you.
saying good morning and welcome. Good morning.
Morning. Thank
Good
you.
morning.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you. Thank you.
You are so incredibly welcome. Let me start with your story. Uh, what happened that left had you and your family leaving Tehran to come to the United States?
So my father worked for the previous regime, the monarchy in Iran. He was very well versed in all different genres of art, a writer, a musician, a playwright. He had written books and plays and had gone to Italy to study the art of opera production under Zeffirelli, a very famous director of opera, to institute and bring in the art of opera to Iran. And, obviously, after the revolution, all of that was wiped out. Music was banned. All Western forms of art were banned, and he lost his job. And due to his conversations and his belief in modernity and having spoken up against the Islamic Revolution, his life was in danger. And so, and also, my parents didn't want to raise a woman, a future woman, a daughter, in an Islamic state.
Mhm.
And so we left, and there was a year and a half where we lived in Italy with family members. Uh, I have a brother there, nieces who are world-class musicians. And we then were designated by the Red Cross as stateless refugees, went through the process and moved to the United States, moved to Texas.
Mhm.
So Texas is my home state.
Texas is your home state. So, thank you for giving us that brief introduction to who you are and how you ended up in the United States. You then went on to become an immigration lawyer. What pushed you into that field of expertise?
So because of my background, I've always been a nerd. Uh, uh, you know, uh, Amnesty International was, where everybody else had pictures of like artists from the 80s in their posters of Amnesty International and things like that. And I was an ESL student, English as a second language student. I was the first in my school to be sent on a program called Close Up,
Mm-hmm.
from all around the country go to Washington D.C. to see how the Congress works, meet
Mhm.
with their Congress members of Congress, and I found myself incredibly energized and motivated by uh, the process of lawmaking and advocacy.
Mhm.
And after a few years, I decided to attend law school. And in law school, constitutional law spoke to me, and specifically immigration law, because I had been through the process myself. I found rewarding work in the area of immigration, and I've been at it ever since.
Sense. When you and I first began talking some weeks ago, there was no Iranian war. There was none of this
Right.
happening. Can you explain to us what the thoughts and feelings are of the Iranians, the U.S. citizens here that are from Iranian descent? What do we need to know? What are we missing in this whole conversation?
Okay. I appreciate that. So the first and most important thing is to know that obviously Iranian Americans are not a monolith. There are diverse voices and different opinions. And I happen to have a particular opinion about this that seems to be, at least from anecdotal evidence, and the show of attendance at protests, uh, to be the prevailing voices. And that is um, a support for the end of this regime
Mhm.
at, I would say, any cost. And so there has been advocacy, there has been language, there has been expressed um, gratitude uh, for actions taken that could possibly lead to the fall of this regime.
Can
Uh,
you describe, sorry for one, give me 1 minute. Can you describe what the Iranian people have been dealing with under this regime? Do you have firsthand knowledge of what the Iranian people have been dealing with under this regime that led to them protesting in the streets?
yes. So I have firsthand experience as a child in Iran.
Mhm.
I did live under this regime for the first 3 years of its life. I have not been back for fear of persecution,
Mhm.
as you know, you are a refugee and you have stated certain facts that your life is in danger, and so my family, has not felt that it was safe for us to go back. Um, I have also still family there, and I have a huge network of Iranian friends and uh, connections with close family members there. And we also have anecdotal information from they're under a digital blackout right now. I don't know if your audience knows this,
Oh.
but this is the second one for the 2026
Mhm.
uh, calendar year. Iran has been without internet for a third of it. So there have been two blackouts.
Mhm.
We are in the second, we're finishing the second week
Mhm.
of the second big blackout, where there is there's a lot of difficulty connecting,
Mhm.
calling, sending information out. What there is of it is anecdotal, obviously, as it comes out. And your question is, what are they dealing with? They're dealing with extreme repression in Iran. They are basically under an unofficial martial law, unofficial because the government has not stated that it is martial law, and yet the effect is martial law. They are threatened, they're shot at, there are checkpoints, they are mm, They are accused of collaborating with the enemy. And so, under that repression that has been going on one way or another for 47 years, they also now are obviously living through military action and, bombings.
So, okay, so
Yes,
everything you just described would leave people living under fear and saying nothing. How in God's name did the Iranian people find the courage to then raise their voices in the streets?
right.
How?
Uh, Iranians have, this was not the first uprising. There have been different iterations. One of the biggest ones was in 2009 during the Obama administration, the Green Movement.
Mhm,
And uh, the sort of the striking match of each of these movements have been different things. At that point in 2009, it was the election and the election results. They believed that they were rigged. Then came others. The biggest one I would say was about 4 years ago, when a young woman called Masa Amini was taken in because she had improper hijab. She had some of her hair showing, and based on the treatment that she received, she ended up going into a coma and dying. And that's a movement that went on for a long time. Many young people were arrested, many were killed, and that was dubbed the Women Life Freedom Movement. And that was the biggest one until this one. Uh, the thing with Iranians is that evolution of mind. They have tried. So when we talk about uh, tacit support or actively supporting a foreign intervention, they didn't start there, right? They did start trying to affect change, trying to elect people that might affect change. They supported reformists,
mhm,
but they have reached uh, an opinion that a lot of us, like me and my family, have always had. This is not a reformable regime.
mhm,
This is not a regime you can deal with. This is
mhm,
not a regime that will change.
mhm,
And they are now um, there. They finally are at a place where, like, nope, we don't want this.
mhm,
We don't want to live like this.
mhm.
We don't want you. And the regime doesn't want to go, has all the guns, and is trying very hard to hang on.
So the people that are in Iran today, while there's been bombing within the country, Tehran, other spaces, how are they navigating the war? Do they feel like things are getting better? Or do they feel like this is what are their thoughts?
Iranians inside the country, obviously not a monolith, and because there are no freedoms or any structure by which you could poll or conduct research. We don't have actual numbers. What we can go by is how many people show up at protests, how
Mhm,
many people have been oppressed and suppressed, taken in, and killed. And the it is most of our opinions that a great majority of people um, are against this regime and would like it gone. Most of them believe at any cost, many, if not most, believe that there is no way to do this internally, all alone, with bare hands.
mhm,
And so there are anecdotal and video information of people um, actually celebrating uh, strikes, supporting strikes. Uh, they video themselves thanking people involved in strikes, the leaders who are leading these operations. And that I don't believe that that should be taken lightly.
mhm,
It takes a lot. for a nation to get to a point where they would support, outwardly say
Yeah,
that they like bombs
yeah, right.
over their regime.
Yeah, that they would prefer to be bombed and struck with bombs over the existing regime that's there. As an Iranian born uh, person, do you feel Iranians are being treated differently here in these United States? Or do you think the average American citizen, of which you are a naturalized one, understands what's going on? What is the sentiment here in these United States about what's happening in Iran right now?
Yes, that's an excellent question. Also, also non-American, non-Iranian Americans are not a monolith. So there are different, obviously, opinions, diverse
Mhm.
opinions. I have seen polls. This country does do polls, and the military actions are not popular, supported by it from the polls by the majority of the people. That does create tension.
Mhm.
It especially creates tension for those of us who are actively protesting in great numbers. In On February 14th, a few weeks before the military actions started, there were three big protests around the world. One was in Los Angeles, where 350,000 Iranians showed up at City Hall. And in Toronto, 750,000 people showed up, and in Munich, over 250,000 people showed up. So um, I will say that the day within 12 hours of the first strike, I did attend a protest. It was after the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, was eliminated.
Mhm.
I had a sign under my arm. I was around UCLA in the Westwood area of Los Angeles, if people are familiar with it. I
Mhm.
had a sign that I've been carrying since the Masa Amini movement. It says support Iranian people in their struggle for democracy. And a young man pulled his head out of his car and used an epithet and said, you know, something you for supporting people die. Uh, we also, one of our protests, there was a U-Haul, a huge U-Haul truck that tried to strike us. That man was Iranian, was apprehended. Um, in other countries, there have been attacks on protests like the protests that I attend, either by Iranian government agents or government supported agents, or by now that the war has started, by the no war movement. Uh, so I think that it's complicated.
It is, because on one end, based on the narratives that you've given me thus far, the people in Iran are struggling and suffering and have been under oppression for decades. That they realized they could not, and stop me when I'm incorrect, they realized they could not manage this regime on the inside. That the oppression has been so horrific for them. When they were struck by the United States and Israel, there were people who were celebrating, that they wanted to get from underneath this regime. Here in the United States of America, there are a group of Iranians, hundreds of thousands of you, Iranians, Americans, who are saying, let's figure this out. Let's we've got family members there. This is what's going on. But there are people who are believing that, and again, let me not put words into your mouth, that you all are just wanting to have access to this war, that you're warmongers. Am I getting that correctly? That you're
Yes.
warmongers and that you don't understand what this means. What do you want the average American citizen to understand about all of this? Because, Atisa, let's look. There are no ships coming through the Strait of Hormuz. Can you talk a little bit about that? What does that mean for our food, our gas prices? Because folks don't get involved or engaged until it becomes it impacts them on some level. So most people didn't even know what the Strait of Hormuz is still don't, right? How important it is in the region, how large Iran actually is, and the amount of power they carry through that channel. What do we need to know now? What do you want people to understand in this process that we're going through, what we're all suffering through right now?
Um, I appreciate that question. So just like what you described, the not having actual knowledge, or having a daily thought about Iran or its importance to the world. um, Iran is one of the largest producers of oil. It is extremely mineral rich, obviously oil rich. The regime in Iran, which is different than the government, than the country of Iran. So the separation is country of Iran belongs to the people of Iran, and the regime in Iran is the regime in Iran. They're two different separate entities. So the regime in Iran is the largest state sponsored of terrorism around the world. That is instability and and risk, security risk to every country around the world. Even if you look at their actions, the strikes, they have been struck by two countries, and they've thrown missiles at every other country that has been around. Okay, so they are unstable. They support, fund, house, uh, and in every way that they can, uh, terrorist organizations, Hamas being the biggest one, uh, uh, Hezbollah being another, and that ultimately affects every human being uh, in the globe, the security of those people.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that. I also drive a car and I have to get gas,
Mm-hmm.
and I see that the prices have gone up. I understand that there is struggles, especially in the last 5 or 6 years since COVID. It feels like we just go from one, fire to another fire, and it's very difficult for people. But I want for everyone to understand that to either stop the actions that are happening now, or to somehow support making a deal regime, will have consequences financially, and you know uh, physically, bodily, uh, later on. Again, this regime will not stop. It's still trying to achieve a nuclear weapons, and that ultimately is not a good thing. If have no safety, if you're in fear of terrorist attacks, every few years you have unrest in a region that affects oil production,
Mm-hmm.
your prices. Um, this will happen over and over. And I think this is a long game. This is like a fundamental shift that if this regime is gone, you will have a safer world. You will have a partner. Iran used to be a very good ally of the United States. There were hundreds of thousands of Iranians worked in all aspects. Americans, sorry, did I say Iranians? Americans worked in Iran. Iran can be a partner. It can be an opportunity. Its infrastructure has suffered clearly. It has suffered under this regime for 47 years. A free Iran, an Islamic Republic free Iran benefits the safety, security, and finances of the entire world. So while I understand the prices are very high right now
Mm-hmm.
and it's difficult to see beyond that, uh, there are actual fundamental shifts that could happen if Iran is no longer ruled by this regime.
We thought when we got into the war, and I'm using the collective we in the United States with the United States and Israel, that this would be a war. For those of us who knew better, we knew better, right? We knew this would not have been a 10-day war, 11-day war. Based on what you know and from your first and second hand knowledge of people that live in Iran, and the Iranians have had such a terribly high cost. What is the cost to human life, if you can even fathom it, to those who have joined this war? There have been tens of thousands now of Marines sent out there. Early this morning, was reported that the president of the United States is thinking of sending another 10,000. How difficult would it be to uproot this regime in Iran that sponsors Hamas and Hezbollah and have been just sitting there for 50 years? Clearly, they have made a plan, and it's not going to be easy to uproot them. At what cost is this going to be? And for those who say that the United States and Israel are only attacking Iran, not just for the regime, but for the rich minerals that are there, for the amount of oil that are there, to be able to take over the channel of the Strait of Hormuz, like, what do we do? It's just not simple. Does that make sense, Atisa? So at
Yes,
what
it's not.
cost
It's
do you think it will be to not just the Iranians, but to everybody that's involved, second, third, fourth, fifth hand, particularly American citizens?
yeah. So, very good questions. Very, very sort of fundamental questions. So
Mhm,
there has been tragic losses of life of
mhm,
American military
mhm,
members there, and we have been incredibly grateful. At one of our protests recently, we were across the street from the National Cemetery in Los Angeles, where we all brought flowers and laid them at the
mhm,
wall of the cemetery. We are incredibly grateful for the brave young Americans who are um, supporting and actively involved in these interventions, however complicated they are.
mhm,
Difficult, obviously, military costs. There has been a lot of equipment and a lot of ships and you know now the service people that are being sent there. Obviously, that is a huge cost, and in a country that is modern and transparent, uh, you will have an actual accounting of that. The cost of not doing it is opaque. Yes. So you cannot put do this next to the cost of we are doing this because the cost of
mhm,
we are doing this is clear, right? Um, and I think you asked, this government, this is not a good government. This government has worked extremely hard. I don't know if you've seen the new information that's coming out. They have these missile cities that they have built hundreds of feet underground, under granite mountains, at a great cost to the ecology and the environment of Iran. They have plundered our natural resources. They have dried up sections and had water, and now these are barren, arid spaces because they were building underneath and they have kept those things secret. They
mhm,
have used, the money that they from the sale of oil, and instead of the betterment of the nation of Iran, they have built these missile cities. They have ballistic missiles and other missiles, and they have done this because they would like to stay in power. So while I'm not a military expert, I'm not. I'm. I worry that simple military strikes may not be enough, and I don't know. We don't know. Berlin Wall fell. We didn't know that the Berlin Wall would fall. The
Mhm.
day before the Soviet Union crumbled, we did not know that they were crumbling. They are showing a lot of force. I was just watching a video right before I came on with you, that they are, they have tanks and these big guns, and they drive around the city yelling and screaming and threatening people. That certainly looks shows a force. And yet, the first layer and the second layer and probably the third layer of their leadership has been taken out. The strikes have been incredibly effective.
I was just about to ask you that. Their leaders are being taken out and they
Right.
continue to do what they're doing.
They continue to do what they're doing, but what you have to understand is the banking system has collapsed. Okay, so you have to pay these militia groups, right? The banking system has collapsed, and basically the way they're dealing with it is they're just printing money, right, to somehow, fund these forces. They've also brought in, long before this foreign intervention, there was foreign intervention in Iran because the government of Iran had brought in uh, militias from Iraq and Afghanistan to suppress and kill their own people. So military intervention did not happen, a few weeks ago with the entrance of the United States and Israel. There was already military foreign intervention in Iran. And so they are very motivated to stay. And what you have to understand is that 47 years ago, they had it easy because they had a government that abided by uh, much of what was proper, and was ruled by a pro- was ruled by a king who had there was room for improvement, but he was not a person that was going to kill everybody in order
Mhm.
to, as a matter of fact, he left because he did not want to kill the people of Iran. And that's why his government fell so
Mhm.
sort of easily, right? Uh, this regime is not that regime. And I guess I hope, our hope is that they are weakened enough these strikes so that the people of Iran can rise and take them out. I'm gonna, sorry. That is, that has been the hope. That has been sort of what Iranians say, that they're ready to defend their country, but that they are without arms and with bare hands. And I guess what we hope for is that this regime where the people can once again rise up and take back the control of the country.
Joanne Kemp, a viewer, says, how is the supposed regime change forced by an outside government do anything but cause more chaos or similar outcomes as the previous regime?" That is a thoughtful question. How are outside government, how is a regime change forced by an outside government do anything but cause chaos or similar outcomes as the previous regime? Why does Iran keep ending up in regimes after years and years and years and years of the people fighting? And it's a thoughtful question on my end, as an addendum to what Joanne Kemp is asking. How does outside forces, the government, how does the United States, because you pushed out one regime, the United States helped to push out one regime, another regime came in, and we're continuing to see this thing happen over and over again. Is there any point where the Iranian people will be able to run their country on their own without outside forces because of where they are located geographically in the world and the amount of oil that comes out of there?
So the previous regime, the regime that fell in 1979,
Mhm.
had been in power for over 30 years. The country was stable. Um, Again, there needed to be reforms. There did not need to be an uprooting and a destruction. There should have been reforms, and there could have been reforms. So setting that aside, um, the regime in Iran currently is brutal, and a regime change per se is not coming. The frame is the regime change is happening by outside forces. The way Iranians are looking at it is uh, this regime is uh, poses a threat to the security of the world
Mm-hmm.
through its proxies, through its funding of other terrorist organizations, through its threats clearly to the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
It is found that it possibly has missiles that could reach all the way to Europe. It is not going to stop at that. Okay, so it is a threatening force to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that should, in my opinion, the frame should be that that is the goal of neutralizing this global threat.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is conversation about regime change. I know that the leaders continue to be asked about regime change, and we have leaders who do comment about that. Uh, Whatever the ideas are, which I wouldn't know about, it, the Iranian at least the Iranian, the people that I am aligned with, the large groups that meet and protest, are not asking for the United States or Israel to affect a regime change.
Okay.
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 I guess the conversation is that, look, this regime is a threat to the world through its seeking nuclear weapons, through these missiles and these cities that they have for their missiles, through the funding of terrorist organizations. And that is threat enough to act to neutralize them. And when they are weakened and neutralized, the people of Iran who do want, have shown multiple times that they do not want this regime, would want to rise up and take the government out and affect a regime change. Change
I
is
have.
not something that. Yes.
I'm sorry, we have a sort of a delay here. Alexandra Jackson says the Shah was put into place by America after the elected regime requested British Petroleum to show their financials. The United States and Britain pushed out the elected government. Did you ever have an elected government? And is that something that you'll ever get back to?
Okay. So that is referring to a coup in 1953. The government of Iran until 47 years ago in 1979 has
Mhm,
always been, for over 2,000 years, monarchy. Uh, and so the Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, was the monarch in 1953.
okay.
Um, there is a debate about how this is framed. It's often framed in sort of like three sentences that there was a a publicly elected government was taken out.
Hmm.
What it is referring to is that that time also Iran was a monarchy. We
Hmm.
had a king and a constitution, and the king was in charge of electing, appointing a prime minister. And he had a prime minister named Mr. Mossadegh.
Hmm.
And there was conversation about nationalizing the oil.
Hmm.
Mr. Mossadegh then uh, basically sent home the Majlis. Majlis is the the elected body. Okay, so
Okay.
the Majlis is kind of like your Congress or like your
Hmm.
parliament.
Hmm.
So he dismissed because he had ideas, they weren't working out. He wasn't getting the numbers that he needed to move forward, and he dismissed the Majlis. That is the part that was elected. Okay, the elected body was sent home, and that created discord, and there was unrest, and there was an attempted coup, which was funded by the CIA. The papers do show that that actually not successful, and a few days later there was another coup. There was an uprising of the people of Iran, and Mr. Mossadegh was ejected from his. I mean, the king of Iran had a constitutional right to appoint him and to remove him. He was removed and he was exiled.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that's contentious. There are people that get really, it's a very motivating and sort of animating thing that happened in Iran. Uh,
Someone
but the
just
fact
texted
is
me
that,
and someone just texted
yes,
me
go
and
ahead.
said that this is the one of the greatest history lessons they've ever had. This is why people like you are important, because we are literally on the outside looking in, unless we're a part of the war and we, like a military, and seen and experience a lot of the things. The question that I asked that I'm not sure you are going to be able to answer is this: because of all the resources in Iran, will the people ever be able to have their own elected government, or will there always be outside interference or regimes that pop up as a direct result? Because there's so much power there. There's resources brings wealth and power. And as you can see from everything that's going on around the country and the world right now, we're feeling the impact of not being able to get those ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran understands
Right.
that. So, based on what we're seeing and from what we're learning from you, will the people that live, the Iranians, be able to fully ever run their country in peace? Or will there always be outside forces or inside regimes? I have to ask that question.
Okay. So your question has 2 points. I'm going to first talk about, I do want to tell you what the idea is going forward for Iran,
Okay.
but
Okay.
I do want to talk about outside influences. So what we have to understand, um, is that unless you are United States, the fact is, United States and generally the West, and on the other side, China and Russia,
Mhm. Mhm.
every other country is always influenced by one of these two polar opposites. Okay,
Mhm.
we understand this. That this is the issue that comes up a lot. I believe that there's a lot of, oh, you want someone who is, the puppet of so and so and the puppet of so and so. The fact remains that we were a prosperous, modernizing, uh, country, that had a lot of work still ahead of us, but we were on the right path until 47 years ago. And we were allies of West, allies with Israel, and a good ally to the United States. And then 47 years ago, there was a revolution. And since then, the government of Iran has allied itself with Russia and China, and have suffered. We are under no, I speak for myself. I am under no illusion that one day Iran or any other country is going to be completely influence free. You have to look at which of these two forces the influence of would benefit you in the manner where you can have a good life, you can have a modernizing country, you can have personal freedoms. We have not had personal freedoms while we've been influenced by Russia and China,
Mhm.
right? We
Understood.
did have a social structure. We had
Mhm.
have political freedoms yet, but we had social freedoms. There were a lot of social programs that were benefiting the people of Iran. And that happened while we were aligned with the West.
Mhm.
So the influence is never going to go away. We have to be clear on that. Unless you're Russia, China, or United States and the West, you are
Understood.
always influenced. Okay. So
Understood.
going,
I get it. Yes.
okay.
That, thank you for
So
that explanation. Because wow, I get it. I get it. You're either going to be influenced by Russia and China or influenced by the United States, and you're picking the one that'll be important to your livelihoods going forward, as much as you know in this moment, as a group of
personal
people.
freedoms. I mean,
Yes.
personal freedoms
Mhm.
and livelihood and
Mhm.
being part of a free world, being a partner to the free world financially,
Mhm.
culturally. Iran has one of the most educated population in the world, and
Mhm.
the majority of college educated, which is something that people don't know. The
Mhm.
number of college educated women in Iran surpass men in Iran. Okay, so we're not like Afghanistan. We,
Mhm.
the women of Iran are highly educated.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
have multiple CEOs famous. The CEO of Uber is of Iranian descent. There are lots of
Really?
people who have come. There are people in NASA that are of Iranian descent. We have an astronaut who was Iranian born to Iranian parents.
Mhm.
We have contributed make to the free world instead
Mhm.
of living this way and having a government
Mhm.
that makes drones that are
Mhm.
used by Russia in Ukraine to kill Ukrainians.
Yeah. Wow. Monica says, I have to be honest, I was so ignorant to the inside of this fight. Atisa is truly giving me understand. This is why these conversations are so necessary, right? Because we make these assumptions based on what we see in the news, the knowledge that we think we may have based on what we're getting. It is nice to have a conversation with someone who has firsthand knowledge, who has lived through a regime, who had to run to the United States with your family because it was so unsafe for you. You spent a couple of years in Italy, but you ended up here. You did not squander your naturalized citizenship. You literally geeked out on immigration law and doing constitutional law. I wish I had more time. If you
Oh,
don't mind, I'd like to bring you back to talk about immigration itself. But as of today, right now, 41 minutes later, Atisa, you have given us knowledge, education. We have to rethink some things. This is amazing. This is just what's the name? Laura says this interview needs to go viral. It's true. It's true.
I'm grateful. Thank you so much. Thank
You are
you.
so welcome. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for being willing to have the conversation. Thank you for schooling us, quote unquote, on what we thought we knew, but what we needed to know as a direct result of what's going on here. So,
Thank you.
from what I've gathered from our 41 minutes of conversation, is this: struggle can't happen without, you can't make movement without struggle. People are going to die because of, and I'm quoting you now, because of the viciousness of this regime. The impact is reaching around the world. This is not just the people in Iran, that they have enough weaponry and power to throw bombs and missiles to, that can get reach up to Europe. That the you're sitting in the middle, Alexandria, Iranians, sitting in the middle of history, that there is so much at stake here to our livelihoods here in the United States of America. We're feeling the pinch at the gas pumps. And so we're like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? Da, da, da. But we needed to know the history. And the history is important so we know how to move forward. Lives are going to continue to be lost. This war is
Yes,
not going to end in 2 more weeks. We understand now from talking to you exactly what we're dealing with. So how do we move forward as a country and citizenry when we see these things happening? you know how do we then navigate? Yeah, gas is more expensive, but hell, this is a larger, it's a larger, what's the word I'm searching for, larger implication around the world beyond the gas tank.
right.
um Laura says she can't wait for you to come back on a much needed perspective. We're going to get off the air now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. You've taught us so much that was so necessary. And what I really am I'm concentrated on, Atisa, is that we don't move in ignorance. We don't make statements out of ignorance. That we get to hear firsthand knowledge about where people come from, who they are, and why they do what they do. Why is the United States involved? Why is Israel involved? There's a whole lot to come back to and have this conversation. But thank you so much. I am going to send you back to my producer so we can bring you back to talk about immigration. right? Constitutional law and what that's been like. But this best Friday gift you could have ever given us.
Ah,
Thank
you're
you.
very nice. Can I say one word,
Yes.
please? Please. Um, for anyone who wants to know what, I talked a lot about our numbers and what we show up. If you want to know who we support, if you want to know what the people of Iran, in great majorities, inside and outside of Iran, want for going forward, there is one leader, and his name is Reza Pahlavi. He is the crown son of the last Shah of Iran. And we, as the collective, inside and outside, have chosen him. Iranians, with their voices and their blood, have called on him to be the leader for the interim government, to work all the way through, not to reign, not to rule, but to create a structure and move forward to a national referendum for the Iranian people to choose what type of government they would like after this regime is gone. Please look at Iran Prosperity Project if you want to know
It's
what
called
the options
Iran
are.
Prosperity Project.
Prosperity option. Yes, project. Yes.
IranProsperityProject.com.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Can you
The
spell
program.
can you spell the name
Reza.
that Lisa? Yes.
Yes, Reza, Reza. That's his first name.
Hmm.
Pahlavi is the name of the dynasty, the last dynasty of Iran. No, Pahlavi. Pahlavi.
Pahlavi. Okay. Reza Pahlavi. This is the person, this is the man that the people of Iran would like to come in and create the change, the shift within their country to make life better for them, not to reign, but to help, to support.
Yes, to create an interim structure so that the country doesn't fall. It keeps moving forward. The Iran Prosperity Project actually covers all of
Mhm.
that. What do we do for the first 100 days? What do we do until we get to a national referendum? And because I'm a lawyer, I just want to make sure that, again, Iranians are not a monolith. There are people who
Mhm.
are not for this, but
Mhm.
Iranians inside of Iran, the ones that got killed, called him by name. We 350, 750, 250 in various countries every day, every week when we go we call his name, we have his photos, we chant for him. He is our chosen for a great majority of people. He is our chosen leader for the interim, not to rule or reign.
Yes. Atisa Sachs, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I
Thank
know it's
you.
only 4:48 where you are in Los Angeles, but I'm so grateful for your taking the time to have this conversation with us. Have an
I am truly
amazing.
grateful to you. Thank you so much.
You're so
Thank
welcome,
you.
my sister. You're so welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Ooh, wow. That was all right. I'll wait for you to log off, Atisa. You can log off now, sweetie.
Okay,
Okay.
great. Thank you very much.
You're
I don't
welcome.
know how
Bye-bye.
to. Bye
Bye. Bye-bye.
bye.
That That's the stuff that makes me get up every morning. That conversation, learning about what's happening around the world, who are the people of these countries, that conversation, whoa, way, way better than all the other craziness that we try to talk. As we're talking about what's impacting us, we have to realize that for every action, there's an equal or greater reaction. And so if we have to tighten our belts and be more thoughtful around how we're driving, where we're going, so that this country can get to where it is. Every country, there's impact all around the world. And when you follow the history of Britain, the history of France, the history of the United States, and now the history of Israel, you start to see Russia, China. We keep having these uh, uh, pie in the sky conversations about but if you follow the history and connect the dots, you'll start to understand, and will our conversations will be less about trying to get likes and for people to look at our pages versus really learning. I'm pulling now. What I'd like to do is interview the king of Ghana. He's here. He's here in the United States. He's here in Philadelphia, actually. I'm going to try and see if there's something. It's probably today. Damn it! So much going on. But my goal is to reach out to these leaders and to have dialogue with them. That's interesting because we're impacted in every single way. It is 7:50 a.m. I was not rushing this conversation. I just know we needed to do this and do it well, and that was a treat to have a lawyer on who is also an Iranian citizen to talk to us about firsthand knowledge around what actually is going on in that country and why is it so important to outside forces like the United States, Israel, Russia, and China to gain access, and while the people inside that country continues to struggle. We need to know our history, y'all. It takes a little bit of time, but we've got to open our minds and shut down the jibber jabber that we've been doing, just talking about, our comforts. We've had so many comforts here in the United States. We don't realize how much we've taken for granted up until now. My goal is to shift all of that, to make us stop and think about what's going on. And as we're talking about regimes, pay attention to some of the things that Atisa says. That sounds very similar to the shiggity that's going on here right now. I said what I said. This episode of Mornings with Mama is officially over. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.